Namae, harimai, and welcome everybody, and thank you for coming along to this monthly presentation from the New Zealand Society of Genealogists. Today we are going to look at the resources that we have for when you're getting started. I'm starting on the homepage. You'll note that I'm not logged in, because I want to show you, for starters, what you can see as a non-member, because we have a lot of resources out there that are available to non-members, but we have even more that are available to our members. So if you scroll down the homepage past our notice on the shipping collection, you'll see quick links which are available to mainly they're our member-based resources, but they're to help you get places quickly. We have a little note on how to search our website, and then we have these boxes down here. And of course, the first one is getting started, and they all light up beautifully. Thanks, Jan. And if you just click on this, it will take you through to our getting started page. Now, this has some links that, of course, will only be accessible if you are a member. And the first one of those is the Welcome New Members page. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. But because our new members are not necessarily beginners, it's more aimed at those people who have just joined us to give us a full overview. So if you're a long-standing member, you might like to go and have a look at that page just to see what is in there. Scrolling down, I talk about dragons, something that I talk about in a resource I'm going to get to in a minute, which is about your family and what they may or may not bring to the table when you start searching your family history. I talk about eKit, which talks, we always have a lot of links and interesting things in the eKit. And if you have missed eKit, and you're a member, you can find it up on the news and events calendar. Now, you can't see it because, of course, I'm not logged in. Best practice. This is a really important thing. So we have some guidelines on this, which when you're in something, you can see down the side, the resources under that. I'm not going to go into best practice guidelines. It's just, a good idea to know they're there. And then I'm going to bring you to getting it right. So this is some resources that were put together a few years ago now to help people on different aspects of genealogy. And the first one is starting your genealogical journey. There are 4 reasonably short videos, about 10 minutes each, and notes. So we have where to start. So, what does it mean when you're doing your family history, how to get started, keeping organized, some hints on searching, and one on what records you can find here in New Zealand. And if you click on one of them, we'll just start at the top with where to start. You see a big video that's hosted on YouTube. You can make it full screen if you like, link to some notes. And then we've put in some further resources. So best practice we've already touched on, sources we're going to touch on in a minute along with the NZSG courses. And then we have a thing that's just for our members called Getting It Right Extra. Now when you're starting out, you might like to see the member services. So that's under our Gen Guides. You will need to be logged in to see this because it's going to tell me it's not there because I'm not logged in. And that's what it means. Usually on the website, if it's not quite working and you're a member, the answer is please go and log in. So these presentations are really useful just to give you an idea of what to do when you get started. We also have a great resource on citing your sources, which is a very important part of genealogy. And so we've been very lucky that Barbara Wiley, the photo here, has put together this, just a really simple guide on how to cite your sources because it's quite terrifying, or you can just be someone like me that really can't be bothered doing it, but having a simple way makes it a lot easier for you to do it. So that's a really great resource. And now we get on to NZSG courses. And that's what we've got Gary here for. So if you go over onto the services link and scroll down, you can see that there are 4 different pages for the courses. I'm going to start with the introductory course. So, Gary, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. Well, This version of the introductory course has been developed over about the last 6 years when I was handed a short stick at Hibiscus Coast Branch and said, can you pick up on some training? And the material that I was handed over was so complicated and detailed that I thought it was just too far. And while I was a relatively installed genealogist, I felt that as far as teaching new people about genealogy and researching, I thought it went far too fast. And I backed it out completely and rebuilt a course from the scratch, and eventually turned that into what is now a 4 half-day course of around 13 hours that unashamedly starts at the basics and goes right through to reasonable researching. It does talk about sourcing, referring, some detailed researching, an introduction to all of the major websites that you might come across, the Family Search, the Ancestry, the Find My Past, etc. To the point of showing them how to use it and how to get into them and how to get things for free. For example, using the library services to access resources that you won't necessarily have to subscribe to in any other respect, but if you can get it through the library, you can get a lot of stuff done for nothing until you find out what you want to actually do. So that introductory course was really designed to get people to the point of being dangerous on their research, to get them started, get them to a comfort level of saying, I can do this. I'm not afraid of actually registering on Family Search. So that introductory course in that format runs mostly as a classroom format, usually up to 16, 20 people max is what you could accommodate. But I love the interaction of the classroom environment, because you can see their eyes light up when they're trying to find something on the screen at the time you're actually talking, and when you know that they've actually got something, all of a sudden you've got them hooked. And that's really what it's about. It's getting them to have that success in the classroom. Saying that, though, the classroom environment is pretty much limited to us at Whanaparā, Birkenhead Library, at the FRC, at Panmure, and places that are central like that. That's a small part of the coverage. So about 2 years ago, I took it back to Sarah and said, I'd like to see if we can run this course online and see whether we can modify it slightly and put it as an online system to cover the people that are new members or potential members, that you don't need to be a member to participate in this course, and see if we can capture people in the outlying areas or even in the central areas that can't get to a course for whatever reason. They're not mobile or whatever circumstances might be. So the course also has been running now for 3 years as an online version, same general sort of format, slightly different because it's a lot harder in an online environment to be able to instruct or have people learn, but it has worked reasonably successfully as well. So that's the introductory course.
Yep. And just putting the screen back up again, showing Gary's plans to be running it in Panmure, Birkenhead and Whanaparā this year, as well as online. So as Gary's already mentioned, you don't need to be a member to do that course, and there is a small fee for it. Now, he also does a follow-up session.
Following on from this, I started to get a little bit frustrated a few years ago about ongoing support for the membership. So when people attend the introductory course, they get me basically for 1 hour, one-on-one after the course. So they get the opportunity to come back, say, a month later and say, Gary, you said this, but I can't make that work. What did you mean by that? I've really lost the thread on this. And to sit down and try and reinforce that message. Well, that was great for the people that were in face-to-face classes where they're reasonably close to where I might live or that we can visit. But for the online stuff, that became a lot more difficult. So I thought about how we could offer some support to people on the broader sense of maybe they're not even trained at all, but they've got simplistic questions that need to be answered that they're afraid to actually ask in any sense. Why can't we offer them something as a Q&A session to let them come on, don't need to be members initially anyway, don't need to be members, but you can come on to our session, our Q&A session, ask that silly question, and have people like myself or Phil, and Phil backs me up on these sessions all the time. We have the chance to reinforce how to do things to people and for them to learn that there are alternate ways to actually get around some of these problems. And that's the great thing about the Q&A support. We currently have now, we've got something like 80 people registered to attend. Not all attend. Sometimes we might have 10, sometimes we might have 30 coming on to those sessions. It's always different. There's very often the same people, but some come in, take what they want from it, and then drop out and come back later on. So they can come in, ask those questions, and whatever the question might be, and have someone actually say, no, we don't know, but we'll find out and come back to you. We are not there to do research for people. That's not the objective. Our aim is to show people or to tell people how they can progress for themselves and to guide them on that research line, not to actually do it for them. So that Q&A support has been quite successful in terms of supporting that. Thanks, Sarah.
Well, thank you, Gary. So hopefully we will get you all turning up to some of these sessions. Now, of course, we have an extensive library, which is in Panmure, which you might not be able to access. So research services, only an email away, as I keep saying, and it's a great chance to, sometimes you might just have a quick question of where do I find this? And of course, it's free for members. Now, I'm going to log in now because there's a few more things that I'd like to show you. We have recently added a whole pile of different resources. So one of the ones we've added, or three of the things we've added, are down here at the bottom of the resources one. So a quick tip comes out in eKit each time, and we've put a page together that holds all of those together, so that can be quite a good read if you haven't dipped in there before. We've also launched a new page just recently to help you with choosing genealogical software. Now, the big thing about choosing genealogical software is I can't choose it for you. You've got to choose it for yourself. And so this takes you through the process of finding them, trying them out. What if you don't like it? And then how you can get help with the NZSG. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And then we have basic links to the sort of well-known programs that a lot of people here in New Zealand use, and then where to get help from them. Most popular genealogy programs have a user group of some description somewhere out in the world on some sort of format. Quite often Facebook, but not always. That will help you. So we've got all sorts of interesting things in there. Now, recently, going back to the courses under the folks at the FRC have launched 3 new software groups. So they are going to be up and running, within March, and they've picked dates. They had a sort of sample day what date are we on? Last weekend. And this is obviously what the people who turned up agreed would be the schedule. So if you're in the vicinity of Panmure, in Auckland, these groups are getting going. Now, if you're not in the vicinity of Panmure, and we know lots of people aren't, do reach out to your local branches. Many of them have groups about software, and if they don't, they usually have someone who's using that software and will be able to help you with it. The second thing we've added, and if you've been to Gary's course, you're probably going to be already up on it, all of it. But if you need some little help and you want to search just quickly for something, we've got a page now that helps you with the big websites that you might come across when you're researching. So the likes of Ancestry, the British Newspaper Archive, Family Search, etc., etc., etc. So each one of them has an official help, which is the resources that the people that run that website / company / organization have put out. And then there are some other ones that people have done because they're interested in it and they like making videos and things to put out in the world. One thing I have noted, and I've put a note here, is that websites change frequently. When I was looking for links for help, it was sort of, oh, I can't really put that one in because this website has changed significantly since this one was recorded. And so it's always a good idea to check out how old the resource is before you start watching it. Because if you want to play along at home, and that's one of the joys of things like videos, you do need to be on the same version. And that goes for both this and for the software that you might want to use. Now, the other resource that's really great if you're getting started are the ones we have over here. I don't know if my mouse is going to turn up on the recording, but we have our Kiwi resources and overseas resources. These are just links to get you started, where to find things, any tips and tricks on what you might need to search. We're always updating them. I recently added a new page on Archives New Zealand because Jan, our webmaster, suggested I add archives into the website help, and I thought, no, it needs its own page because it holds a lot of stuff. And you search it and where is it and these sorts of things. So that gives you an overview on Archives New Zealand, which holds a huge array of resources for genealogists. But the rest of the Kiwi resources, we're always adding things as we find them in there. And it's just one way to find out where things are. And of course, if you're not researching in New Zealand, you might not have been born here, you might not have any family history here. We do have our overseas resources. Currently, we have this set of countries here. We've added Canada and the USA recently. If you have done some research in a country that we haven't covered and you'd like to write us a little guide, it doesn't have to be anything huge, but just a quick overview, please get in touch because it would be really great to expand this out maybe into some Eastern European countries, some Asian countries, South America. You know, we don't really realize the relationship New Zealand's had with countries in South America. So there's a lot of countries we're still yet to cover, and it would be great if we could add them in. And of course, underneath the overseas resources is where you access UK Discovery and the Gale newspapers, as well as these overseas family history journals, which we're getting an extended list of them. So they're great if you're researching in a particular location. You might find something useful in their journals because, you know, they're like us. They're another family history organisation that is out there. Now, of course, one of the big things that people join the NZSG for is our collections. It's the records that we have collected. So the record collections tab, little video there you can watch, and it just gives a very brief overview of each of the collections. And you can click on the thing and it will take you to the page that tells you what we collect and how you get it. So that's a really important thing. Now, most of our collections are indexed on the Kiwi collection, but you do not need to be subscribed to the Kiwi collection to access them. But if you are, it gets you there quicker, is all I'm going to say. The 3 levels of access is quite interesting. Because I'm a subscriber, I can't really show you the member level because it just takes me into the full thing. But if I log out quickly, I go back to that page, refresh it a bit so I'm not there, and I log into the Kiwi collection. There's still quite a few things, and don't forget to read the terms and conditions that you can find. So if I just stick in a random family name that's not Smith, because there's a lot of people called Smith, and if we scroll down to the bottom, even with the name Johnston, which is, you know, not too common, not too rare, there are still 6,000 records, and this is in the public side of the Kiwi collection, including references to the genealogists, which is probably me writing about my family and other people who have Johnstons in their family writing, suffrage petition, Lakinwa soldiers, probates, deaths, all sorts of interesting things in there. And, you know, like I say, 6,000, you might want to stick a first name in there. So when you're starting out, it can be a little bit overwhelming how much we have, but take a moment to, you know, breathe, and then just go in and look at it a little bit at a time. And you never know what you might find that is useful, because we are covering a huge variety of things, from technique into helping you find records outside of the NZSG, plus all the records that we hold within the NZSG. And I will give a final shout out to our library team and the library cat, who likes books and other things. And the library cat does little presentations. These are just little slide shares, which are going to turn up on my screen any second now, which you can go in and you can have a look and see, what we've got in our library. And it might give you some hints and tips on what's in the library. Of course, you can always access the library catalogue. You don't need to be a member to do that. And I have to say, every time somebody pops up on Facebook wanting to know where to find this book, I always have a dip into the library catalogue, and more often than not, we have that book, and I'm able to say, are you an NZSG member? It's in the library. So hopefully we won't have been too overwhelming in this sort of go through the website and have a look around. And now, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
I think one thing that I continue to be amazed at is what's inside the Kiwi collection. Let alone the other, like the international resources that we have. But every time I climb inside Kiwi and go looking for something, I always find something new that's relevant. Yes, and I've got a lot of New Zealand history to carry out. But man, it's an amazing resource. So it's an absolute credit to the organisation that what has gone into that, collating that whole thing together. And long may it grow and be successful.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger. It's come a long way since we launched it online in 2021. So yeah, and you never know what you're going to find in there too. There's, sometimes things you don't realize about your family pop out because now that we've got a record, we've added to the collection.
We went through that at the library. We were going through the Kiwi collection because a few people had the Kiwi collection and they weren't sure how to use it. So I luckily had Bronwyn. So we were going through showing how to use the Kiwi collection, and they're going, oh, I'm going home now. I said, okay. But it's actually, what we're finding is that because you have meetings, you don't always learn a lot. You need to get together with your computers now and then to go, okay. And there's just newbies where we started with, I didn't think anyone was going to turn up, and we had 6 people.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want any more, because that's a nice group to be working with.
Yeah. Well, it's at our Kilburnie branch here in Wellington, we have research mornings where we just, we have all our branch resources, and people come along and ask questions and get help. And I know a lot of other branches run similar sessions like that.
So in fact, that's
North
what we
Shore
just
branch
set it up.
Yeah. North Shore branch have just launched a regular session, which you can find details of on the under the other courses / training page.
Guilty.
So, yeah, that's a Phil and Gary special, I suspect.
No, it's a Phil special with Gary.
Phil special.
Yeah. Gary helped a little bit there. We bounce ideas off each other, but that was mine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Phil.
You politely told me to bug off.
No, but we had a discussion about it, and if it actually works, the concept of could be very easily adapted in other branches.
Absolutely.
You've just got to find a willing person to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at our branch ones, we have regular attendees because they know the fiche are there, or they know that, there's someone who'll be there that can help them with their DNA, or, our librarian's usually there, and they can go, oh, I'm looking for information on this. What have we got in our library? So, it's a group effort.
Yeah. This
So-
what we aimed at was like with Gary's training session, he's only got a certain amount of time to try and explain everything. So
Yeah.
what I did is I took that and we spend one night on one topic,
Cool.
so they get more into it.
Yep. And so the schedule's up on the website. So
Yep.
if you're in the North Shore area and you want to come along, all the details are there.
So, Sarah, can you hear me? Because my
Yep.
camera's disappeared.
No,
I
I can
just
still,
like-
I can see you too.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
can like it. Don't pick your nose.
No. So one thing I'd like to point out about the Kiwi collection is the creep records, because
Yeah.
so many members don't understand about the creep records. So every 6 months, more records are added to Kiwi based on the NZBDM rules. So if you haven't found a certificate for your member, you know, the last time you searched, you need to encourage all your branch members, everyone, every time we do a 6 monthly update, do a new search on your surname. It's so important, because you will get more information.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Thank you. I haven't done that yet.
No, but you
And-
see, people think, oh, I checked Kiwi 2 years ago and, you know, this certificate didn't come up, or this OBIT didn't come up, or this whatever didn't come up. But every 6 months, there are more and more added through the creep records, and members just don't understand those.
Yeah.
I reminded everybody at our meeting to actually go back to all the records. I said, well, when was the last time you looked at your originals?
Mm.
Because you'll be surprised what you missed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really pays to go through some of your old originals.
Yeah, yeah, and just because it's little things like a witness to a marriage, the name might not have meant anything to you when you first came across it, but
you
since
find-
then you've discovered that it's, you know, your 3 times
Actually, a
great grandmother's
relation.
sister's third husband, and you know, it's
Yeah, precisely.
says something about the family and their relationships and things, or yeah, a detail just might not have seemed relevant at the point, but you've gone and done Gary's course and now you've
Yeah.
know about
Okay,
something,
keep-
and
Keep doing your Kiwi.
yeah, always looking in the Kiwi.
But having
Hey.
like what you were saying there actually applies to the websites you go to, because even the websites are adding more and more data all the time. So
As-
Yes.
As
So you need-
is
yeah.
NZSG website.
yeah,
Continually.
Yes.
Continually, yes, Jen, our webmaster, is we try to keep her busy, and in fact, Phil, you've just given me an idea. I think I did it in a quick tip once, but we might just need to add that onto those website resources we've just put up about how do you find what's new on a website, and there are a couple of different ways of finding that out, because I quite often will go through the big ones that I have subscriptions to and just trawl through the new record sets to see if there's anything interesting to me.
funny you should
You know.
say that. I was talking to a gentleman today about that very subject and what is lacking on the site. What is new? A
Yeah,
link that says what is new, and you can go and have a look at it.
well, we might have to put that on our website, mightn't we,
That's
Jan?
what we were talking about.
So one thing that's coming soon as I've got enough time, because it's a big job, it may even happen tomorrow, is a sitemap, because we're not allowed to have a search bar for whatever reason. I'm not going into that. Don't ask me. So I'm going to do a sitemap, which will include every page on the website. So as part of that, I could put an extra column that says new. Yeah,
Yeah.
when it's in its first month. So,
Mm,
Definitely.
sounds
so yeah,
good,
the
Jen.
the sitemap is coming as soon as I can.
Yay!
I've started on it, but yeah, I'm going away
There's
this
quite a lot
weekend.
there to map, really.
Right.
There's quite a
I
lot
think
there to
I'll-
map.
And it's going to be in quick links. So there'll be a sitemap which will Yeah, and there'll be a link on that to every page on the website. So
Excellent. That's going to be
Fantastic.
it's
quite an
coming
undertaking.
soon. Yeah.
Yes. So, and that's a great thing about the website is that, we think of a good idea and we can add things. It's
Yeah,
we're not
within
being
our
printer
limits.
limited. Yes.
Yes.
But yeah. And we've been having a great idea. So if you come up with an idea for something that we haven't got covered,
Email me.
yeah, or email me.
Yeah.
We're always looking, like I say, we keep updating the Kiwi resources. If you found an interesting resource that you think members would like, send it through. I will mention that we're working currently on the Kiwi guides, which are the local repositories and the local information that might be, useful for your family history when you discover where they actually were. So that will be a work in progress, and I'm hoping that it won't be too long before we get at least some of that up and running. We've got, we think that sometimes we're not a very big country, but actually when it's working out local genealogical sources, we have quite a large country. And there's lots of interesting things all over the place. So, but we'll get there.
Sarah, can I ask Chris a question?
Yep.
Oh, far away. I was going to ask you one actually. But,
well, just random, because I know most of the rest of you who are here tonight. But I know Chris is a real newbie. So do you have any questions, Chris, about, how to help you with your research and what was your question for me?
Yeah, one of the things that I've come across, because when I started my genealogy sort of journey, I always thought that all my relatives came from England because I come from England. And since starting it, I've actually discovered quite a few Kiwis who came down here before me, or English people that came down here before me. But one of the things that I found really useful when I first started researching my English heritage was the British Newspaper Archive. And I found that a really easy tool to use, but I'm struggling a little bit with the Gale. So I don't know whether it's an alternative or whether it's something that it obviously doesn't include, I don't think, the British Newspaper Archive, but I'm sort of struggling with how to use it. Whereas with the British Newspaper Archive site, it was very easy to find stories and actually sort of archive them basically so that I could refer back to them. It was a much simpler tool to use.
Yeah, I think the Gale newspapers possibly suffers from, I think, it being more an academic sort of database type thing, and that I don't know what expectations that might put out for its users, but we have got a little video on the website of going through where to find the the advanced search and sort of some tips and tricks of how to use it. And I have to say,
I'm a bit guilty of not following up on using the video, so I have to confess.
Yeah, I mean, one little thing that I quite like on it is there's a button you can push and it will bring up the citation for the article that you've got.
Oh, right.
And so, I mean, I'm a snipper when it comes to small newspaper articles. Sometimes the articles are, really long and it's not as easy to snip, but I like to be able to snip them and get that information in it so that it's there when I open it, and I'm not sitting there thinking, what on earth newspaper did this come from? Because I do have one, a snippet I use in a presentation, which is all about marriages and how much money the women were worth that were getting married, and I have no source citation for it. I don't remember where it came from because I didn't snip it with that information. So it's while it's just a bit of fun in a presentation, it's, if it was my own research and my only family member, that would be a bit naughty not to have a citation for where that information came from, so that you knew you had it if you were looking again. But the Gale newspaper collection and the British Newspaper Archive are kind of there is a little bit of overlap, but they are a little bit different, and you will find different things on there. So it's worthwhile, it's a sort of one of those seeing everything you can type scenarios to maximize all the, what you can find.
But definitely, Chris, watch as many of the videos on the NZSG website, because they give a huge amount of information.
Yeah, and those ones are quite short because I did a
use a
monthly
lot of them.
presentation and, did them
We
separately.
use
Yeah.
a lot for fillers.
And they're handy for the branches. They can use them
Very,
as
very
well.
handy. All of a sudden lose a guest speaker and you think, what shall we do? Go to the presentations, and we can usually fill in a whole one, and then you end up with this huge discussion about, okay, whereas our meeting was on houses that we lived on, and we were going on and on about houses that everyone had lived on, and by the end of our meeting, so it's just amazing how you can just use presentations.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the great things about belonging to a branch, is that you have that discussion that might spark, a resource that you've never thought to look at, and you can go out and find something exciting about your family, hopefully.
Writing stories. Don't write the book, just write a story.
Yeah. And send it in for the genealogist.
Yeah, I'm going to send you Lim and Jean's one. 4 countries, 1 house.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I'm definitely going to send it to you. It's fascinating.
Well, that's the issue for some people when they, move backwards in time through their family history, is they end up in an area where the borders shifted around 5 times and it's had 6 different names, and where are the records?
Well, that's right. Well, this woman grew up in India. She's actually English, but she grew up in India, so she didn't really she doesn't know where home is.
Especially probably especially since the whole time she was in India, the family referred to home as being back in England.
Well, no, they were there for a good 30 odd years, 40 years, and her grandsons are there now as well.
We see my grandmother, who was English, home was always back in England.
Yes.
I was born in Ceylon, and all my birth certificate is written in Sinhala.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Well, there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, it makes it a bit awkward when you produce it to somebody and they have a look at it and think, I have no idea what that is.
And what about your parents, Chris? Where were they born?
Dad was born in Livingston in what was then Northern Rhodesia, and my mum was born in London, within the sound of Bow Bells. So apparently she calls herself an East Ender. I don't know if that's a true saying. If you're born within the sound of Bow Bells, you're an East Ender.
Yep, it is.
So Welsh and English heritage, basically, even though they were not born in those parts of the world.
Yeah. So are there any more questions? Because it is getting close to 8 o'clock and I will wrap up otherwise.
I've got one.
Sorry?
Thank you very much to everybody. It seems like there's a lot of people out there who know what they're doing. It's nice to know that I can actually
whereabouts in the country are you, Chris?
I'm in the Waikato, but Bombay Hills,
whereabouts in the
basically. I'm in the Bombay Hills. It used to be Franklin, but Auckland City kicked us out.
Right. So you go to which branch are you going to?
They let me attend the Franklin branch. They're very kind.
Right. So you're going to come to the regional meeting down in Thames?
That's not too far away.
No, it's not. It's just around the corner. And they are fascinating.
Well, it sounds like I might be very welcome there too.
Yeah. Oh, you would be welcome there. course, you-
Email
Right,
me,
Kate,
Chris.
Molly.
You know how to. I've told you how to email me, haven't I?
Indeed.
Yeah. So I can give you details of that meeting if you want.
And I've got all the details now, and I'm really grateful to have a quick whiz around the site. And it is a case, I think, of just getting familiar with it and knowing where to
It
find
is.
stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
You just need to do a big delve. Go
Agree.
into each line and look at what's in it, and there is so much information.
And I think
Um,
I've spotted a few people on the screen here who I think I might be able to speak to.
You can always
Um,
come to Waihi for a visit. We'll put you up. We're very friendly there.
Yeah.
It's only an hour's drive.
Thanks very much.
Sarah Di had a question.
Oh, Di, hello.
Hi, sorry, I came to the. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I came to the meeting late because I forgot the time. You're 3 hours ahead of me. But my question is not to do with the NZSG website, but I've been on the Archives New Zealand website recently and noticed there's a big change to it. What happened? When did it happen?
Quite a while ago.
Which bit of archives are you talking about? The search bit or just the rest of the website? Because they've done both.
The search bit, because normally I've gone on in the past and been able to just put on the name I want to research and it comes up as anything relating to that name. And now there's no, I can't find wills in it. I can't find the will or the war records or anything. What's happened to it?
Sometimes it's not as good. We've recently, under the Kiwi Resources, put a new page in there for archives, and one of the links we have on that page is Luke Howison, who does the Ancestral Search Helper website. He's done what he calls an archway style search of archives, and that's really cool because one of the things that's kind of missing out of the current archive search is telling you what the record actually is, what record set it comes out of. So you can instantly say, oh, that's the will, or that's the service record. So his one is a bit more, consistent with the archway that we knew and loved. And also he will link directly into the documents. So you can just click on a button there. So it's a really cool website to use to search in archives. So yeah, you'll find a link there under the Kiwi Resources.
I'll have a look at that because, normally I can just put a name in and it comes up with all the resources that I've got.
Yeah.
It had things like deaths, it had land transfers, it had wills, it had divorces, everything. And now there's hardly anything.
Go to Luke Howison's site. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Archives New Zealand have just cut so much funding that, we can't see anything anymore.
That makes it really hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially as I do know I need to get to Wellington.
Yeah.
I've been trying for the last 18 months to get to Wellington and still haven't made it.
Well, let us know when you do, Di. We'll have a coffee.
Yeah, one day I've got a couple of elderly cousins there that I want to catch up with, but the time just doesn't seem to work out.
You need to plan for March 2027 for our anniversary when we're, we've got some things coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. March is a good time to travel to New Zealand.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I do get over to New Zealand regularly, and I do get to Blenheim because that's where my daughter is living. But trying to coordinate, with airfares and stuff across, and my cousin's daughter is actually working, so trying to coordinate transport and everything else is not always easy. But one day.
It's the joys. Yep, definitely. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up now and say thank you, everybody, for coming along. And thanks for the questions. And it's lovely to catch up with some of you and to see some new faces. Next month, as usual, I have no idea what's happening next month. We've got the AFO Congress in Brisbane between now and then, and Roots Tech is also going to be on, so I might have a session on just what's new out in the world. You know, what new things have I learned, and hopefully a few other people will come along and tell us what they've learned also, because Roots Tech, of course, is a big time for new innovation and new products to be coming out. And hopefully we'll see you all soon then. So thank you all for coming along tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Good night all. Good night.
Bye.
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 Very well.